Hello everyone. So today I want to talk about love. Now, many of you probably know that I'm a former opera singer and I'm a vocal coach and I love teaching voice. I love seeing people's voices develop. It's such an honour and a privilege to be with them on that journey, and it is my lifelong study, so it is my deep love to do that. But in another life, I write love stories. I write about love. And for me, love feels like it's the most powerful emotion in the world. It makes the world go around. It drives us. It's the thing that we want. We all crave it. We want to be loved for who we are, don't we? Now, if you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Perhaps you'd be kind enough to leave comments below the video. I'd love to know what you think about this. But that is how I feel about it. So just briefly, I'll tell you my history about writing love stories. A few years ago, quite a number of years ago, a very, very good, dear friend of mine died. Tragically and in a very weird circumstances. And it derailed me, I'll be honest. It took me years to get myself back on course. And I'm sure many of you can probably relate. There's probably loads of you who've lost someone and who have felt this kind of trauma through that loss. So several friends of mine suggested that I should write about it because they knew that I'd been writing for years and years and years. You know, when you travel for singing, it's quite lonely. So I used to read a lot and then I used to write my own stories, but I never ever thought of publishing them. Anyway, so my friends suggested that I should write about it, and I did. So I started writing, but I didn't want the story to be sad only. So I installed some fiction in there as well and made it into a love story. And of course it is a love story. It's all about my love for my friend who died. But there are also other love stories in the book. And so the first book I ever wrote and to publish was this one, The Healing Touch. Some of you may have read it. It has since been kind of rewritten, re-edited, and a new cover. So thank you for those of you who have read it and left reviews. I really appreciate it. So that was the first time I wrote about love, and it made such an impression on me. So I've never thought of myself as a romance reader or a romance writer, to be fair. My go-to genres are sort of science fiction and fantasy and, psychological thrillers and things like that. So can you imagine my surprise when the stories that kept coming into my head that wanted to be told were romantic stories, romance stories? This surprised me quite a lot. So I read quite a lot of romances just to see what it was about and why people would write them. And it was very interesting to me because I then started looking at romance and I realized that right at the beginning when people started writing romances, it was women writing for women about women. I mean, I'm talking about after Jane Austen, because a lot of her books are sort of swoon-worthy romances, aren't they? But I suppose I'm talking about sort of Barbara Cartland and Mills and Boons, and the kind of romances that started the whole thing. And of course it's all changed now. Contemporary romance is completely different, but it is kind of a forgiving genre, I feel, because there's many subgenres and there's many different levels of romance that people love to read. So yes, so my first romance, my contemporary romance, was this, Under a Namibian Sky. And the reason I started writing it is twofold. Because I'd been reading all these romance stories and I had these characters talking in my head, I thought, okay, I'll have a look at it more closely. I'll have a look at Mills and Boons. So I wrote the first 3 chapters and submitted it and everything, and they were very excited. They were like, yes, we really like it, but can you change this character, can you do this, whatever. So I did all of that. They sent me a long list of things that they wanted me to do. So I did all of the things that they asked, sent it back, and they didn't want it anymore after that. But by this time, the characters were alive and talking to me, screaming to be heard, and they wanted to live in the world. And that's how Under a Namibian Sky was born, because I was born in Namibia. And so it was wonderful writing it, because it felt like I was going on holiday to this exotic place that, has all these fantastic characters that I knew very well, in a place that I knew very well. And, there were elephants and all sorts of things in it. And it was lovely. But what I found very interesting was that it wasn't just a romance. It's about family love, and loyalty to your family and what matters to family. And yes, so there is a romance in it as well, and people who read it and loved it asked me to write a little follow-up, which I did, of the characters. So they moved to Italy for 6 months of the year, and then they go back to Namibia, you see. So this is their journey, the novella of their journey, so Love in Medina, of these 2 characters. And of course I'm now writing the second proper novel in this series called Heat in the Desert. And you will meet the characters that you loved before, but there are new characters coming into it as well, because it's about Naomi, the character in the first book, is about her dream coming true. She wanted a TV series to be made at her lodge in Namibia, and this is coming true. And so Syra, who's coming from London, she's coming to film a TV series there, a reality TV series about weddings. So you can imagine all the things that can go wrong. Oh dear. Anyway, so all of that happened. And then, so I guess I write romance to explore love, to explore what it is to be in a romantic relationship, and love on every level. I explore that. And I think, so my romances are about that. But of course, the healing touch is more women's fiction. And so that is where I feel I write to understand love, because there are 5 books in that series still to come. Some of them have been written, they just haven't been published yet. And so it has been a very interesting exploration and understanding of love that has helped me to continue writing that series as well. I also write children's books, middle grade novels. So this is my first one, George and the Gargoyle Who Lived in the Garden. And again, I think some people have read this. Children love it and adults love it. They say it's a children's book for adults. Anyway, again, it's about love. There's lots of love in it. There's a little boy who's, loved by his aunt in a way that his parents can't love him. And in turn, he loves magical statues and make them come alive. And isn't that what love does to us? It makes us come alive, doesn't it? So it is, I think, one of the most important things we can talk about. And the thing that we don't really talk about properly, we talk about being in love, but we don't explore what happens after the in love bit goes away, possibly, and all the levels of the different levels and nuances of love. I mean, sometimes someone can love us, but we can't recognize it as love. It doesn't feel like love to us, whereas for that person it does. You know what I mean? So it is a very interesting subject, I think, and something that, as much as I love voice and talking about voice and exploring voice and learning about it, because again, it's a lifelong study, I feel love is the same. It's a lifelong study. So this is the sort of introduction, I feel, to a series of videos that I'm doing, interviews with authors who write romance, because I want to find out what it is about love that they love. Why do they write about it? What do they feel about it? What do they believe about it? And what is it that drives them to write about love? So, if you are a romance author, or an author who writes about romance in your books, it doesn't necessarily have to be romance, because there are loads and loads of different genres of books who also have romances in them. If you are one of those writers, or you are a romance reader, or somebody who reads other genres but love the romance aspect of the novels that you read, I would love to hear from you. I'm doing a short podcast series about this, and I'm interviewing quite a few people to find out, what is it about love that fascinates us? What is it that we want? What is it that we crave from it? And why is it so difficult sometimes for other people to get it? I sometimes hear about people going, oh, I've got the career, I've got the whatever it is that I wanted, but love eludes me. I hear that a lot, and I find that so sad, And I think love is the thing that we all deserve. We come into the world with love. Babies love easily, don't they? And they are very lovable. And then something happens in between. But the thing is, by the time we leave the world, love is all we can take with us, isn't it? There is nothing else that can go with us. And I genuinely think that the in-between, the way that we explore love and learn about it and, explore it and understand it, that is the thing that expands our soul, that makes us more of who we are and makes us more alive in the world. I really believe that. And so I'd love to hear if that's what you think as well. And as I said, if you want to be on my podcast, let me know. I would love to interview you. These are not very long, but I think they're really, really important. So, until next time, I shall see you next week with the first one. It's by Alexandra Wenman, and it's a wonderful interview. That one is actually not a podcast because she was here with me in my little booth, which I love, and I made it all very romantic. It smells wonderful. It smells like old roses. It's beautiful. So we had a wonderful time talking about it. So that one will come out next Friday, and then obviously I talk about my books, my romance books and everything on a Friday, and then on a Tuesday, you might have noticed, I talk about the voice books. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you all with me next week as well, and let me know if you want to be part of it. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will speak to you soon.